Every man dreams of greatness, but those who worship their own greatness will fall. You are about to learn how to defeat the greatest problem of all, your own ego, so that no enemy, no betrayal, no disaster can ever bring you to your knees. In the shadows of every throne, there is a dagger, waiting for the moment you grow too proud to see it. History is littered with kings who lost their crowns, emperors who lost their heads, and conquerors who lost their empires, all because they believed themselves invincible. Their true enemy was never their rival. It was the poison that lived in their own mind. Today I shall guide you through the brutal truths you must accept if you wish to rule, to conquer, and to survive. For ego is the enemy, and I will teach you how to destroy it before it destroys you. Listen closely. The moment a man begins to believe he is important, he is already unworthy of the throne he seeks, because the belief in one's own greatness is not a sign of strength. It is a crack in the armor, a wound in the soul that enemies will eventually find. History does not remember men who are full of themselves. It remembers men who mastered themselves. There is a difference. You see, ego is not confidence. Ego is not power. Ego is the illusion of power, and illusions are the first things to shatter when reality strikes. The prince who believes himself to be divine will not notice the knives being sharpened at his back. The general who believes he cannot be defeated will march directly into disaster. The poison of self-importance seeps in slowly. It whispers that you are always right, that your instincts are above error, that those who disagree are beneath you, and worst of all, it makes you stop listening. And in this world, when you stop listening, you begin dying. Ego will convince you to ignore your advisors. It will tell you that your success is your own, when in fact it was the result of timing, allies, and forces beyond your control. A man possessed by ego believes that his fortune will never turn against him, that his people will never revolt, that his enemies will always lose. This delusion is more dangerous than 10,000 soldiers at your gates, because ego blinds you to what is real. The ruler who worships himself becomes deaf to danger. He surrounds himself with flatterers, not truth-tellers. He makes decisions not based on what is necessary, but on what makes him feel powerful. And the results are always the same: ruin, betrayal, collapse. What men do not realize is that ego feeds on victories. Every triumph, every praise, every moment where others kneel, it grows stronger. And the more it grows, the more it poisons the mind. It becomes harder to admit mistakes, harder to adapt, harder to see anything other than your own reflection. That is why you must kill it, early and often, because ego will not serve you. It will not protect you. It will build you a prison made of golden mirrors and convince you that you are free, until the day it cracks and you realize you are surrounded by enemies who smile in your presence and plot in your absence. When you are full of yourself, you become predictable. Predictable men are easy to control, easy to defeat, and easy to ruin. Your enemies will feed your ego just enough to make you reckless. They will play to your pride, your vanity, your need to feel superior. And when you are drunk on your own image, they will strike. Power is not kept by those who think they are powerful. It is kept by those who know how fragile it is, who treat every moment on the throne as a battle for survival. Ego forgets this. Ego believes the crown is permanent, the people are loyal, and enemies are too weak to matter. Machiavelli knew the truth: men are fickle, fortune is unstable, loyalty is a transaction, and the higher you rise, the more the wolves circle. The smart ruler doubts himself daily, not from weakness, but from strategy. He asks, where am I exposed? Who is watching? What mistake am I making that I do not yet see? The fool never asks. The fool believes he cannot be outsmarted, and because of that he is. Even emperors must crawl before they can stand. Even kings must bleed to learn wisdom. And those who never suffer the sting of failure are the most vulnerable, because they have never been humbled. Ego shields them from humility, and therefore from truth. It is better to be underestimated than overestimated. Better to keep your hunger than to believe you are full, because the man who believes he is everything has nothing left to learn, and the man who stops learning begins to rot. So many rulers fall not in defeat, but in delusion. not in battle, but in self-worship, not by a sword, but by their own reflection. Power is not granted to those who believe they are perfect. It is granted to those who know exactly where they are broken and exploit even their flaws to win. A man who cannot look in the mirror and name every crack in his soul is a man who will be shattered by the first storm that strikes him. Self-awareness is the blade that sharpens every move, every word, every decision. And yet most men reject it. Why? Because it demands pain. It demands honesty. It demands the courage to admit that you are not who you pretend to be, and that your enemies might already know this. The prince who lives in illusion believes he is wise, brave, beloved, untouchable. But Machiavelli knew, no one is as dangerous as the man who hides from himself. You cannot master others until you master your own impulses. You cannot anticipate betrayal if you do not admit the weaknesses that invite it. You cannot rule with force or fear or persuasion unless you understand which mask you are wearing and why you needed to wear it in the first place. The unexamined man is not free. He is a puppet, a slave to his pride, to his patterns, to his unconscious flaws that others see before he does. And when they see them, they use them. A rival does not need to destroy you. He only needs to watch how you destroy yourself. If he knows that you lash out when you're questioned, he will provoke you into errors. If he knows that you hate being outshined, he will surround you with brilliance and wait for your envy to eat you alive. If he sees that you crave validation, he will flatter you until your guard falls and the blade slips in. But when you are ruthlessly self-aware, you become a ghost to your enemies. You leave no weakness unexplored, no impulse unchecked, no emotion unexamined. You are unpredictable, not because you are erratic, but because you are fully in control. Control does not begin with dominance over others. It begins with knowledge of self. The generals who win wars are not those who scream orders. They are the ones who understand their own limits before testing the limits of the battlefield. The rulers who stay in power are not the loudest or most confident. They are the ones who remain suspicious of their own mind, their own motives, their own blind spots. And here is the harshest truth: you are not who you think you are. You are a story you've been repeating to yourself since childhood, a myth stitched together from fear, desire, pain, and survival. But a myth cannot rule. Only a man who tears apart that story and sees what lies beneath can build an empire that endures. Most people would rather be praised than improved. They choose applause over accuracy. They crave being seen as great rather than becoming great. But greatness requires excavation. You must dig into your ego with a blade, strip away the layers of performance, and uncover the rot that still festers beneath your victories. What drives you? Is it ambition or fear? Do you speak with authority, or with insecurity wearing a crown? Do you act with wisdom, or are you still trying to please ghosts from your past? Until you answer these questions, you are vulnerable, not because you are weak, but because you are unconscious. And unconscious rulers are the easiest to defeat, because they betray themselves before anyone else has to. Self-awareness is ruthless. It does not flatter. It is not comfortable. It confronts. It interrogates. It is humiliating. And that is exactly why it is the most powerful weapon in your arsenal. A man who knows his limits can stretch beyond them. A man who knows his fears can choose when and where to face them. A man who knows the truth about himself cannot be manipulated, because he has nothing left to hide and nothing left to prove. Do not wait for the world to expose you. Expose yourself first. Interrogate your beliefs. Question your victories. Scrutinize your motives as if you were your own enemy. Because if you do not, someone else will. And they will not be as kind. The world does not care how you see yourself. It only responds to how well you see reality. And reality begins with you, your flaws, your lies, your shadows, and the truth you refuse to speak. Every man wants to rule, but few ever pause to rule over the one kingdom that matters most, himself. What fools forget is this: before you subjugate others, before you win territory, before you demand loyalty from armies or subjects or even friends, you must conquer the thing that lives inside you, your pride. Because pride, unlike any foreign enemy, does not announce its attack. It sits silently, whispering that you are destined to lead, that others are beneath you, that your instincts are flawless and your plans divine. Pride doesn't come in chains. It comes dressed in glory. It tells you the crown already belongs to you, that your words are always right, that your vision is unquestionable. And just like that, it tightens its grip. The man who has not conquered pride does not pursue victory. He chases validation. He doesn't want to win for the sake of strategy, for the sake of power, for the sake of control. He wants to win because losing would wound his ego. And this is precisely the man who loses. You must understand something very clearly. Pride is not strength. Pride is not honor. Pride is weakness, polished and dressed in robes of false superiority. The greatest emperors, the shrewdest tacticians, the most feared rulers in history, they all learned one thing early: that pride makes you predictable. It makes you reactive. It makes you emotional. It turns you from a cold, calculated strategist into a desperate actor who needs the approval of the crowd more than the silence of victory. And nothing makes a man easier to defeat than pride. When you're ruled by pride, you cannot walk away from an insult. You cannot tolerate a challenge. You cannot admit when you're wrong. You burn your bridges to defend your image, not your empire. And the men who burn bridges are always left on an island, alone, surrounded, and out of options. There's a reason why Machiavelli warned rulers not to seek love, not to rely on the affection of their people, not to make decisions from emotion, because pride creates emotion. Pride demands that you be seen as right, even when you are clearly wrong. Pride refuses correction. Pride ignores counsel. Pride sees enemies in every critic and loyalty in every flatterer. And this blindness, this intoxication is fatal. If you want to lead, not just temporarily, but with longevity and unshakable dominance, then you must first humiliate your own pride, not in front of others, in front of yourself. You must question your motives every time you speak. You must strip away the need to be admired, the hunger to be praised, the obsession with being respected. Because here's the brutal truth: when you're obsessed with respect, you're already weak. You've handed your power to the opinions of others. You've placed your sense of worth in the hands of people who could betray you tomorrow. Conquer your pride, and you become untouchable. Insults no longer pierce you. Criticism becomes a tool, not a threat. You move in silence because you don't need applause. You adapt because you're not married to your image. You retreat when it's strategic. You strike only when it's deadly. But a man ruled by pride will strike just to be seen striking. He will fight battles he should have avoided. He will speak when silence would have made him stronger. He will reveal his insecurities through outbursts. He will demand loyalty when he should have commanded it through presence alone. Before you conquer a city, ask yourself, have I conquered my pride? Before you humiliate a rival, ask, am I doing this for strategy or for ego? Before you seek revenge, ask, will this strengthen my position or simply feed a wound I haven't healed? Pride turns leaders into tyrants. It turns warriors into cowards disguised in rage. It turns potential kings into temporary fools. Do not be that man. Do not be the one who climbs the mountain only to scream at the world how high he is, not realizing the wind is shifting and the edge is near. Because when pride takes hold, you don't see the edge. Until it's too late, you must become a mirror of cold reality. Nothing inside you should be louder than logic. No feeling should rise above clarity. No ambition should escape the cage of reason. You must look at your own victories and say, was I lucky or was I smart? Was I prepared or simply blessed by timing? Was I followed because I was inspired or because I was intimidated? And when they stop clapping, will I still stand? These questions are knives. They cut deep, but better to bleed in private now than bleed in public later. Your enemies are watching, not just your movements, not just your alliances. They are watching your emotions. They are reading your body language. They are waiting for pride to overtake you, because they know that's when you'll make your first mistake. The first mistake is never external. It doesn't begin with a bad move. It begins with an unchecked emotion, a need to prove something, a refusal to look weak, a desire to defend an image. You cannot afford that mistake. Not if you plan to rule long. Not if you want to outlast those who smile today and sharpen daggers tomorrow. You must conquer your pride. Before you conquer your rivals. Before you conquer nations. Before you conquer history. There is a hidden war that every man is fighting, and most don't even know it. Not against his rivals. Not against society. Not even against time. The real war is within. And the most dangerous enemy a man can face is not the one standing in front of him, but the one living quietly in his own chest. Men are trained to look outward. They're told to anticipate the attack from outside their walls, to prepare for betrayal from others, to guard their kingdom, their status, their position from the jealous, the envious, the ambitious. But they are rarely warned that the first hand to open the gate to ruin is often their own. This is the deception. The louder you point at your enemies, the more blind you become to the traitor inside you. This traitor has many faces. Arrogance that refuses correction, insecurity that demands overcompensation, fear that hides behind aggression, entitlement that mistakes desire for destiny. You believe your enemies will come with swords, but the real enemy comes as your own voice, whispering that you are owed something, that you are exceptional, that you are untouchable. It tells you that you deserve power before you've earned it, that you should be praised before you've endured anything, that you must win at all costs, even if it means betraying the very discipline that once made you strong. That is the seduction of the enemy within. It does not scream. It seduces. It flatters. It convinces you that your worst impulses are just passions misunderstood by lesser men. You begin justifying mediocrity as rest. You call your cowardice patience. You label your indulgence self-care. And all the while, the edge dulls, the awareness fades. The instincts that once kept you sharp are now drowned in comfort and ego. And this is how men fall, not in sudden catastrophe, but in subtle surrender. Day by day, inch by inch, they are conquered by their own softness, by the quiet acceptance of weakness disguised as wisdom. You may think you are strong because no man has challenged you yet. But ask yourself, what would happen if they did? What if power slipped from your hand? What if your reputation cracked? What if the loyalty you depend on vanished overnight? Would you adapt? Or would you collapse, exposed for who you truly are without the armor of your illusion? A man unprepared to face himself is a man unprepared to face anything, because the moment the external world no longer validates him, he becomes unstable. He lashes out. He makes emotional decisions. He chases noise to silence the mirror. But the man who has confronted the enemy within, truly, deliberately, without mercy, becomes dangerous. Because there is nothing you can take from him that he hasn't already surrendered. There is no weakness in him that he hasn't already named and sharpened into strength. There is no secret you can weaponize, because he already exposed it to himself and turned the wound into armor. This man cannot be broken, not because he is invincible, but because he is fully aware of where he is most likely to break. And he has reinforced those places not with pride, but with preparation. The enemy within thrives on illusion. It feeds on denial, and it dies when exposed to ruthless self-knowledge. So ask yourself, where does your hunger really come from? Is it love for power, or fear of being powerless? Do you act from strength, or are you simply afraid of being seen as weak? Are you moving forward, or just running from the shame you never faced? Most men will never answer those questions, because they are not questions, they are blades, and they cut deep. But if you do not ask, if you do not cut, if you do not strip away the lies you've built around yourself, you will always remain vulnerable. Vulnerable to flattery, vulnerable to fear, vulnerable to every trick your rivals don't even have to plan. Because you will do their work for them. You'll destroy your own alliances out of paranoia. You'll make enemies out of allies because your pride can't handle criticism. You'll abandon your discipline the moment things become easy. And then, when collapse comes, you'll call it betrayal. But it wasn't betrayal. It was self-destruction. The rulers who last are not the ones who win every battle. They are the ones who never let their inner enemy grow stronger than the outer one. They are the ones who test themselves before life does. who break their own illusions before the world does it for them, who kneel before their flaws before others can weaponize them. You cannot conquer a kingdom if your own heart is mutinous. You cannot lead others if you are still led by your hidden fears. You cannot be trusted with power if you cannot even trust yourself to resist the temptations that come with it. This is the harshest truth Machiavelli ever understood, and the one most rulers ignore. They think power is about controlling others, but true power always begins with mastering the war inside yourself. You are taught that your enemies are out there, in other people, in the system, in those who oppose you. But today, you've seen the truth. The most dangerous enemy wears your face. It speaks in your voice. It praises you when you should be silent. It blinds you when you most need to see. Ego is not just a weakness. It is a weapon in your enemy's hands. If you do not conquer it, someone else will use it against you. The man who walks into power with unchecked pride walks into his own execution. But the man who walks into power after conquering himself, his fears, his pride, his delusions, becomes something rare. He becomes immune to insult, untouchable by flattery, and unpredictable to those who wish to see him fall. Machiavelli never promised comfort. He promised clarity. And this is it. You must rule yourself with the same ruthlessness you intend to rule the world. Kill the illusion. Crush the ego. Master the voice within before it masters you. Because until you've defeated the enemy inside you, you are not fit to defeat anyone else.